Hello and welcome back to Tobacco Road and Abroad. My name's Gareth Parsons, joined by Aiden Moore, and we're getting back to our full slate again. We've got multiple sports to cover. We've got some MLB playoffs, NFL, college, and even some MMA. We've got a full slate, interesting matchups all around, and we're getting well back into the swing of things. We're out of our little preseason where it's just college and the NFL. We're really getting down to the point where Aiden and I are really gonna have to be concise and efficient with stuff. So, without further ado,
Absolutely.
you take it away.
Absolutely. Super excited for this week of sports. We have October baseball finally is here. I love the MLB playoffs. It's probably one of my favorite postseasons in all of professional sports, just because this is the time people really start paying attention to baseball and eyes are starting to come back to the sport. We also got UFC 320. Going to do a little predictions at the later end of this episode. Super good fight card. All of the five fights on the pay per view, absolute bangers. I think they have a making for a classic pay per view this week. And as always, we're going to be talking college. We're going to be talking pro. We're going to be talking all the ins and outs. It's going to be a super good episode. I'm really excited to jump into it. But we're going to start this episode off right now with talking about the MLB postseason. We are in just at the time of recording this, just finished day one of the wild card. Playoffs have just started, and wild card games have commenced. We had the Tigers and Guardians, and playing each other in an AL wildcard matchup, along with Boston and the New York Yankees going into AL wildcard. And on the NL side, we had the Cincinnati Reds going up against the Dodgers and the San Diego Padres going up against the Cubs. I think Gareth definitely wants to highlight Boston's win today. I'm going to go in depth a little bit on the Cubs, but we're also going to do some predictions for how we think this World Series is going to turn out, what's it going to look like. We're going to make our predictions. But Gareth, if you want to start off with the Yankees, big win for the Red Sox this today.
Yeah,
Want to jump in?
yeah. I just want to start off by saying
The
the
Yankees
Yankees.
lose.
The Yankees. Those you're familiar, there's a clip of David Ortiz on MLB Network. I'm presumably after a Yankees loss. Like, David, do you have anything to say? And he goes, "The Yankees lose." So it's kind of become a meme. But good day all around. I honestly kind of expected them to win with Crochet on the mound. Cy Young finalist. I mean, what more can you expect? Now, I will say, to start off the game, it was kind of a pitcher's duel. I mean, Crochet gave up an early home run to Anthony Volpe. I will say, Volpe had that one coming after the season he's had. If you haven't seen sort of the MLB lowlights, he's a good player, but he currently leads the league in errors right now as an infielder. And, as kind of an infielder, that's kind of a bad thing, particularly. You're giving up free bases, but Volpe homered off him early in the game. Then Crochet kind of settled in and retired, I believe, like something like 17 straight batters, striking out 11 of them. Like, it was some crazy number like that. But Yankees pitcher Max Fried was also dealing as well. And it was kind of it was a deadlock going into, I believe, the seventh when the Yankees pulled out Max Fried, and then the Yankees bullpen just kind of collapsed. Um, the Red Sox were able to get two on base. Then Alex Cora, who has received a lot of flack this season for making some questionable decisions at times regarding lineups, what to do in certain situations. But Alex Cora decides to put his nuts on the table, brings in Masataka Yoshida, who is one of the Red Sox better hitters, but he's still coming back from a labrum tear. And funny enough, speaking of, Aiden and, being up in New England, when Aiden came to visit me, that was Yoshida's first game back in July. Aiden got to see Yoshida come back from injury, and he didn't have a great game, but dude had just had shoulder surgery. But Yoshida has finally settled back into himself. Yoshida knocks a double to the outfield. Red Sox take a 2-1 lead. Then going into the ninth, not going into the ninth, then top of the ninth, the Red Sox extend their lead with Alex Bregman hitting an RBI double just to kind of extend the score to 3-1. Now, Aiden and I have joked about this scenario possibly on here before, but for as much as we joke about and saying we love this scenario in baseball, it sure hasn't happened a lot to our teams or anything we've watched. But I'm sure you've heard us talk about the psycho closer. You know, the one guy who things have to start going wrong for him to heat up. So, Aroldis Chapman, the Red Sox main closer, has been one of the best closers in Major League Baseball. Despite being like 37 years old, he's pitching better. He's throwing harder and faster than he's ever thrown in his career. His pitches top out at like 105. He consistently hits like 102, 103, which is crazy for a closer, but unheard of for like an almost 40-year-old. But in a fairy tale way, he loads the bases, no outs. Yankee Stadium's going crazy. I believe it's Cody Bellinger got on base, like with a single to load the bases. Immediate flip of the switch. Chapman started the inning at 95 miles an hour, which for him, being 10 miles an hour lower than like his limit, I'm like, oh shit, this isn't good. He's throwing 95. The bases are loaded. Second, Bellinger hit first base, 102, 103, 103, 102, 101. I'm like, psycho closer. So I'll explain. It's a trope where they kind of have to put the pressure on themselves to kind of dip into their skill set, if you know what I mean. Like, things have to get interesting before they tap into that, high end speed. But I will say, great win for the Red Sox in the Bronx. For these wild card games, it's best of 3. So if the Red Sox are able to steal one tomorrow night, the series is over. They have a game Thursday if necessary. I like their chances tomorrow. They have Brian Bayo on the mound. He's a young guy. He's younger. He's not quite an ace like Crochet is, but he's consistent. He's performed very well against the Yankees this season. So I like their chances tomorrow night. But if they don't get it tomorrow night, I like their chances on Thursday. They haven't named a starter for Thursday based on the rotation. I know their normal day 3 starter, Giolito, is having some issues with his elbow right now. So I doubt that'll be him taking the mound. But I will say, after a little slump, the Red Sox are back to playing the red hot baseball we saw in June and July that Aiden and I got to witness. So, in person. So, that being said, I like the Red Sox to win this series. Personally, I think it'll be 2-0, but honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if the Yankees steal tomorrow night. I like Bayo, but like I said, I'm just a little worried about his consistency. He's been consistent, like I said, consistently good against the Yankees, but I'm worried about his consistency.
Yeah, absolutely good win for the Red Sox. I've with my time in Boston, being able to see Crochet on he pitched a full game when I was there. I became a Crochet fan that day, and I was really happy to see him perform well in this game. And I really like the Boston Red Sox for this series, and maybe have the makings to make a run. At the beginning of the season, I was kind of being a little bit pessimistic for the Red Sox chances. I remember Gareth, like all the way back in the middle of summer, like it was looking bad. Gareth saying like, yes, they still have like a good path to make the playoffs, and I was kind of blowing him off a little bit. The Yankees, the Red Sox kind of got it together a little bit, and I've really liked their pitching production, and being able to kind of win out these pitchers duels is something I feel like is going to be able to take them pretty far. I do have questions with like maybe some depth, but good first win and a good first step for the Red Sox. Moving over to the NL wild card, we had the Cubs and Padres go up against each other this afternoon. Cubs were able to have a pretty solid game, starting off with San Diego scoring a run in the second inning. After that, it was pretty much it was a pretty big defensive battle. But in the fifth inning, we got 2 homers for the Cubs. One being with Suzuki, and the other one being with Carson Kelly. And that really kind of set the Cubs into motion and put them in a really good spot, and able to get one more run in the bottom of the 8th inning. And at that point, It was pretty much all Cubs. It was all she wrote right there. Cubs have had a pretty solid game. Danielle Palencia was able to come in and be the relief pitcher and able to get the win on this one. Um, I really like the Cubs going into game two. You got Andrew Critten, Crit, Critedge coming up for game two tomorrow. And I really uh, kind of like the look that the Cubs are given right now. Do I think they're going to be making a deep playoff run? I don't necessarily think so. The Milwaukee Brewers are a team that kind of came out near the end of the summer and have been on an absolute tear right now. And as much as I like might say to my chagrin, they do seem to be like one of my favorites to win the World Series right now. But definitely a good look for the Cubs right now, and I'm excited to see how this series will go. I've got to give it to the Cubs winning this series outright, but things can change, and it's kind of a little bit sad that we're recording this after game one and but before we've seen anything else, mainly because you kind of get we're kind of like half in, half out. Like we've seen a little bit, so it can kind of influence our takes and the predictions for the World Series. So they're not like completely like blind of how these teams are going to perform in the playoffs. But if the Cubs perform the way that they did this afternoon, I definitely see them taking this series.
I agree. This is I think, obviously, despite, kind of following and cheering for the Red Sox, I will say this is probably my favorite series. I mean, I like all of these series. I think they're interesting matchups. With the way that the MLB playoffs are structured, less than half the teams making it. I think that's good. But I think this is just going to be a good battle. It's two very well-rounded teams. But I think the sad thing when it comes to those type of series is it just comes down to who's better. And I know that sounds very like, oh, that sounds very chalk. But when I say these two teams are very well rounded, they're very well rounded teams. They can beat you with pitching. They can drop 14 runs on your head on a whim. It really depends. Um, their offenses can turn it on at a moment's notice, or they can really shut you down with the pitching game. And I like, obviously, Padres have Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts, former Red Sox, but I think the Cubs just have a little bit of an edge. I mean, like Aiden mentioned, Seiya Suzuki, just classic household name when it comes to the Cubs recently.
Mm-hmm.
Like using him on MLB The Show, but obviously this is real life. But
Yeah,
he's on my ultimate team in MLB The Show, but he's my DH. But still, I mean, I like the Cubs. Like Aiden said, I think Cubs are one of the teams where I'm impartial to, where I'm happy for them to have success. Like
mm-hmm.
if it's not my team, this is the team that I want to have success. If it's not my team, like I would want the Cubs to go deep, but I'm similar to you. It's just like with how, and this is going to sound kind of counterintuitive, with how well-rounded they are, they don't necessarily succeed at one thing, but they aren't necessarily bad at one thing. So it kind of makes it hard for me to predict where they're going to go. I do think they'll take the series against the Padres. I think the Padres may steal a game. I think the Padres may steal game two, but I think ultimately the Cubs are going to come out on top of this one.
Yeah, and I have to agree with Gareth that Boston and New York is a very interesting series, but I have to disagree with him saying that it's his favorite of the AL or of this World Series like wild card race. Because right now I got my eyes on Detroit Tigers versus the Cleveland Guardians. This one is very interesting to me. Number one, Detroit was having a little bit of a slide near the end of the season. And it looked even questionable if they were even going to make the playoffs. Able to pull in a wild card spot and performed pretty well against the Cleveland Guardians, a team that's kind of hot right now. So I don't necessarily know how to analyze these two teams, because this series matchup predictor has them like pretty much 50-50 right now, especially after this game one right now. Cleveland has a home field advantage, but Detroit was able to come out with the win on this one, being able to score runs on the first and seventh inning. Cleveland was able to respond to the first run in the fourth inning, but a battle of pretty evenly matched teams and some really good pitching coming from Tyreek Skubal and Gavin Williams. Both of these pitchers played pretty well and kept the bats low. Only home run for Detroit being Kerry Carpenter, and he was able to get that run, I believe, in was it the seventh or yeah, he got that one in. Hang on. He got his run in on the first inning, not a home run, but able to score off of that. Overall, I would say Detroit is one of those teams I'm actually pretty impartial to. They're one of those teams that I feel like has kind of gained a little bit of resurgence over these past couple of years, but have just had run into these different lulls. So they're a team that I love to see have good success, but I don't know how it's going to go in this series. I don't know if they're going to be able to keep this momentum that near the end of the summer run that they were going on, where they were just getting loss after loss after loss, kind of has me a little bit on the edge of them. Plus, with Cleveland coming out with home field advantage in this series, I think I might have to go with the Cleveland Guardians winning this one. But we can do a whole dissection of the World Series in a little bit and make our predictions.
I do agree with you that there are some interesting kind of narratives here, particularly after essentially the Detroit Tigers kind of choked away the division. If you talk to me probably mid-July or early June, I'd say we'll go early summer. How about that? If you talk to me in June and you ask me what's the scariest team in baseball right now, I would have told you it was the Detroit Tigers. Similar to the Red Sox, they have an absolute ace in Tariq Skubal. Him being the other favorite for the Cy Young outside of Crochet. Crochet leads in strikeouts and innings pitched. Skubal leads in ERA and I think batting average against. So tight, very contested Cy Young race. Good outing by Skubal. The first run he gave up today was just kind of a miscommunication on the infield, but he and the rest of the Detroit Tigers even did just a good job to recover after that kind of whole debacle where the Guardians evened it up. But like you said, I think this will be a close series. I know the Tigers took game one, but the Tigers had their ace. They had arguably one of the two best pitchers in the MLB pitching. For me, honestly, there was no way the Tigers were losing this one. Kind of how, in my mind, there was no way the Red Sox were dropping game one with Crochet on the mound. That's just the Red Sox rarely lose with Crochet on the mound. I think it's happened twice in the entire season, maybe 3 times. But I like Cleveland. They kind of gotten hot out of nowhere. They've been kind of hovering around the playoff spots, but they got really hot towards the end of the summer. Obviously Williams, similar to Tariq Skubal, had great game. 0 earned runs. I know with Detroit, none of Detroit's runs were earned, Aiden.
I thought that's what the stats said, but I could have been I could have been led astray. Sometimes I get a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult for me to tell what the earned runs are.
Oh no, that just means they just reached off of errors. Yeah. I mean, you were right about the one. I think it might just be a stat keeping error on ESPN side.
Mm-hmm.
But relatively clean game by both teams.
Yes.
Relatively clean game by both teams. Obviously, the errors are something people are, Williams, 8 Ks, 6 innings, only 1 walk. Both pitching staffs, I mean, obviously, it's kind of a one-man job for the Tigers, if you get what I mean. 14 Ks, 7.2 innings, 1 earned run. But Cleveland, despite losing this game, Cleveland's bullpen did a pretty clean job finishing up after Williams. Gaddis went inning and 2/3, 3 Ks, no hits, no earned runs, no base on balls. So I just think this series is going to come down to like the nitty and grittiest of details, and ultimately, just with how outside of today, the Guardians have been playing pretty clean baseball and they have the momentum. So that's why I'm going to give it to them. They just have the momentum, and generally outside of today, they played clean baseball. It's just today, two small mistakes bit them in the ass. And
Yeah.
sometimes when it comes to particularly in professional sports, you hear football is the game of inches. There are times where there's a certain spot, a few bad spots can make a close game look like a blowout, and vice versa.
Hmm.
Baseball, you make two errors and all of a sudden the score balloons to like 4-0. It's the margins in these pro sports are a lot thinner than people think. It's just when people really get into troubles when these mistakes compound. And fortunately and unfortunately, they compounded enough for it to affect the score, but not in enough of a way to, kind of exacerbate the issues. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I mean, like we said, overall clean game by the teams. That was just, Detroit made one less mistake. That's essentially what it was. Detroit made one less mistake than the Guardians, and
Yeah.
that's just sometimes like as cliche as it sounds, as cliche as it is to say this. That's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes.
Yeah.
That's baseball.
Yeah. But going over back to the NL League, Dodgers took the win over the Reds today. Gareth and I were watching the end of that game. It was pretty much all Dodgers, not gonna lie. Reds kind of made it look interesting near like the eighth inning where they had the bases loaded, down by 5 runs. But after that, LA kind of cleaned up and then they win 10-5. I like LA in this series, but if we how about right now? Let's do our full predictions of the World Series, and then we can kind of like talk
Yeah,
about some other potential interesting storylines. Starting over at the NL League, just with the way that the Dodgers performed tonight against the Reds and how hot they've been over the past couple years. I got to take the Dodgers over the Reds. I think they're going to sweep them and then go on to play the Phillies. And no real interesting news with the Cubs and Padres. I already told you. I think the Cubs got this series. I think they move on to Milwaukee. That would make the Phillies versus the Dodgers pretty interesting matchup. I mean, the Phillies have had some playoff lulls. I like. I just don't know. Dallas is kind of like one. I mean, the Dodgers are kind of like one of those teams that like once the whole regular season, it's literally just their warm up, and it really starts getting real for them, and they start kind of putting in like the real work once they get that playoff spot and start moving on. I kind of like them over the Phillies, so I'm taking the Dodgers over that. Brewers versus Cubs. This one's that I'm kind of 50-50 on, but I'll say this: I think the Cubs give the Brewers pretty much all that they can handle. But I think the Brewers like come out with the win on this one. As much as I don't like to say it, it's a big rivalry match. I just think the Brewers in their like latter half of the season run, they're just the hot team right now. Bar none, I believe they are the best team in the MLB. And granted, sometimes like in professional sports, the 1 seed jinx kind of like takes effect. I don't think that's going to be taken into effect in the National League. Maybe the American League, but not the National League. So I got the Brewers moving on. After that, it would be LA versus the Brewers. I might just say the Brewers go into the World Series on this one. I think they have a lot of good tools. Christian Yelich, Sal, Frelick, um, like they got the tools, and I feel like if Freddie Partella is able to stay healthy, I feel like he's going to help the Brewers out. I got them going to the World Series, and then over to the American, I got the Guardians beating the Tigers, and then the Red Sox beating the Yankees. That would make the Guardians going up against the Mariners. I got the Mariners winning that one. I like the Mariners a lot, especially with Cal Raleigh. Um, and then Boston versus Toronto Blue Jays. I think I kind of got Boston on that one. I don't know, something about maybe Boston going on a run. Just looking a little nice to me right now. That would make the Mariners versus the Red Sox. I got the Mariners winning that one. So my World Series matchup is going to be Mariners versus the Milwaukee Brewers.
Funny enough, I've got something very similar. um, I'll start off in the National League as well. I just think particularly with how many pitchers the Reds had to use today after Hunter Green's rough start. Caveat, I think Hunter Green's going to be a fantastic pitcher in the coming years. I just think with his youth and relative inexperience at the show level, that kind of showed today. The pressure was there. Otani took him deep on like the first pitch, and you could kind of see dude just kind of panicked from there. You saw the flashes. He got 5 strikeouts in like 3 or 4 innings, but you could just kind of tell when Otani took him deep on one of the first pitches, it was just he entered panic mode, and you're going to get that from a young pitcher. So I've got the Dodgers winning the series with the Reds. From there, like Aiden said, I've got Cubs over Padres. Then moving into the AL, getting into the second round, I've got the Guardians coming back and beating the Detroit Tigers. Obviously got Boston over New York. I've got Boston over Toronto. Toronto's kind of a similar story to the Detroit Tigers, but it's Toronto's the Detroit Tigers if they didn't slide quite as far. Toronto's if, Detroit said, "Hey, we need to get our shit together. Like this could get ugly." The Blue Jays had a double-digit lead for the majority of the season on the Red Sox and Yankees. Even for that, few weeks where the Red Sox and Yankees flip-flopped back and forth, Red Sox went on a tear and were like 2 or 3 games clear of the Yankees and it flip-flopped. It got interesting in the end. The Yankees and the Blue Jays finished with the same record, but the Blue Jays had the tiebreaker from their earlier series. But I'm just not very convinced by the Blue Jays as of late. They've been playing good baseball, but not very great baseball. And in their recent outing against Boston last week, they just didn't look very convincing. The Red Sox took the first 2 games with relative ease. Yeah, some of them were close, but it was the first 2 games relative ease for the Red Sox. So I've got the Red Sox beating the Blue Jays. Then I've got the Mariners beating the Guardians. That leaves me with the ALCS being Red Sox Mariners. Then on the other side, Phillies, Dodgers. I'll give this edge to the Dodgers. I feel like the Phillies, while they're playing really good baseball, I just feel like the Dodgers are a little hotter right now. I just feel like them homering on the first at-bat of the postseason just gives them immense amounts of momentum. That's got them feeling good. I mean, they were already going to feel good about a 10-5 win tonight. But when you take the first fucking pitch of, your opportunity, it wasn't the first pitch of the game because they're the home team, but when you take the first fucking pitch deep, like, you're just going to be feeling a certain type of way for the rest of the postseason. Like, you're going to be feeling invincible at that point. So I think that extra, kind of feeling factor may be helping out the Dodgers there. So I've got the Dodgers over the Phillies. Then, fortunately, I've got the Brewers over the Cubs. Then from there, I think, you know what? Do I do this? The only place I'll differentiate from Maiden is I think my World Series is going to be Mariners-Dodgers. And we really get to settle who's better, Otani or Cal Raleigh.
I would love that World Series.
I would too. And I will say, I do think Red Sox and Mariners would go to 7. It would at least go to 6. It would probably go to 7. I think that would be a contested series when they've played in the regular season, particularly once the Red Sox got their crap together. It was a pretty evenly matched series. I believe Seattle came out on top with the games. It just felt more balanced. It felt like the first series, if I remember correctly, was not very good. But the second in-season series. The Red Sox played a lot better, but I think that's going to 7. And then I've got Dodgers over the Brewers in 6. I know the Brewers are hot right now as well, but I've just got a feeling about the Dodgers. Just I don't know. It could just be that it absolutely shocked me. I was just kind of sitting there on my phone playing Clash of Clans, and Otani took Hunter Green deep first opportunity he got. It could
Yep.
just be that, but we've got the two best hitters facing off in the World Series. I think that would make for a great World Series, to be honest. You got Cal Raleigh from Raleigh, North Carolina, versus Shohei Otani. If you want to find a way to get people invested, and I'm sure I don't want to see that. I want to see, obviously, I'd want to see the Red Sox. But if the Red Sox don't make it, the World Series I'd want to see is Mariners versus Brewers or Mariners versus Cubs. That would be, bias aside, that's what I want to see. I don't want to watch an all West Coast World Series, but I think that's what we may end up with.
Mm-hmm.
And in that scenario, I'm going to go with the Mariners. I just think LA has the momentum, but I think it's I think it's a really big ask for them to go back to back. It's not like football where it's a one-off game, or even soccer where you sometimes play 2 games in a tournament against a team. This is 7 games in a row. You mean to tell me they're going to go through all the playoffs and then completely win the World Series outright for the second year in a row? I'm not up to date on my facts, so there may be back-to-back winners. There probably is.
Mm-hmm.
Just being honest with how long baseball's been around, there probably is. There probably is even defunct teams, teams that don't exist anymore, teams that folded, that won back-to-back championships. I just think in today's day and age, I've got a feeling about these Mariners, man.
Mm-hmm.
Just got a hunch. Similar to the Dodgers, I've got a hunch, but I just think that's a tall ask. At some point for the Dodgers, the gas is going to run out. That's my take. I'll say the Mariners in 7. I definitely think that's for sure. If that's a series, that's going to 7. But like I said, I want to see outside of Boston being in the World Series, I want to see either Brewers Mariners or Cubs Mariners. I'm just, you get what I'm saying.
I see what you're saying. And with my Brewers Mariners prediction for the World Series, I think I don't know, just something. I would love to see that World Series. Something about it being the Brewers' time right now. Like the Mariners, I feel like they're just sometimes a little bit too inconsistent. They got Cal Raleigh, obviously, but sometimes I feel like the Brewers are the more cohesive team. I got them winning that game in 6. That series in 6. But yeah, that sums up our predictions for the World Series. Do you want to move on to college football now?
Absolutely. College football, we had a very interesting week in college football. A lot of movement, a lot of happenings.
Called my happening guy. Something happened.
For once, something happened. First, I'm going to start out by sorry.
I was just wondering if you want to start off with the Carolina teams.
Yeah, I'll start off with the Carolina teams. But first, I think we need to start off by addressing our thoughts and prayers are with NC State's defensive coordinator, DJ Elliott, who lost his daughter to cancer, I think, the night before the game. Awful situation, 5-year battle. Everyone, hopefully, obviously everyone in that organization has your back. Everyone has your back. That's awful thing. And I'm glad he took time off to not be at the game. He was where he needed to be. And I know you like to hear all these stories of, he played the day his mom died. No, that's your child. That's exactly where he needed to
be. Yeah.
And I will say, I've gone back and watched the game a few times, and I've even seen some content creators online acknowledge this. I just think with the emotions of the death and just that game was just a perfect storm of stuff. The team had already come out flat. The defense just kind of looked uninspired. I'll give the defense a break. Your coordinator's not there. usually when it comes to college football, the entire family of the coaches of each coach is very close with the team. So the defense at least has an excuse for coming out flat. You just had something absolutely awful and deflating happen to someone you care about. So defense gets a pass. It's just with everything in perspective. I know a lot of State fans are upset with the run defense, but I will say the defense stepped up at the end of the game when it mattered to give the offense a chance, and then the offense couldn't get the job done. Should we have been in that situation? Absolutely not. But when it mattered, the defense rose up and got a stand and got a stop.
Mm-hmm.
The issues with the offense, it's just the offensive line wasn't really getting a push, and there seemed to be no energy. Even in the Wake Forest game where we struggled early, our offense, even in the Duke game at times, our offense was really explosive, generating these massive chunk plays. We could march down the field in like 2-3 minutes. I just wasn't seeing that with the Virginia Tech game. And, it could be that death could have a ripple effect on the entire team. And I'm not sitting here blaming the loss on that at all. The team played like shit as well. It wasn't that they just came out flat and look uninspired. They played like shit. And if that's the reason, so be it. Death is that's an awful situation. And it kind of puts into perspective, the defensive struggles is because a lot of NC State fans didn't even know the defensive coordinator's daughter was battling cancer. So when it came to criticisms of the defensive play call, this man's had a lot on his mind. So I'll give the defense gets a pass for this year for me. If we lose games because of the defense the remaining of the year, I'm not allowed. I may be mad deep down inside, but I'm not going to allow myself to be mad. That's just a tragic scenario. I don't want them to, but the defense could give up 45 every game the rest of the year, and it's just like, that's just an awful situation. Now, offense, on the other hand, at some point, you've got to get something done. You can't only score 21 points on Virginia Tech. Like that's bad.
Yeah.
I will say the Duke game definitely took its toll on CJ Bailey. He was hesitating every throw. He was second-guessing reads. I think I went back and counted. We left 14 points off the board because he hesitated and took a check down when he had a wide open shot downfield, which understandable. And like I've talked about on here before, he still is yet to play a full season's worth of games because of how late last year he started. So it says he's a sophomore, but in reality, game experience wise, he's still a freshman. He has not even played a full 12 games yet for NC State. So I think we do need to have a kind of air of patience with CJ Bailey. Showing great flashes. The pros are there. Like, he's getting good when random TikTok creators who you didn't know exist are making edits of CJ Bailey and they have no connection to State.
Mm-hmm.
But where I will criticize is Dave Doeren. How do you let this happen? DJ Elliott gets a pass. Dude's going through hell and back right now.
Yeah.
Go fucking win that game for him and his family. Go fucking win that game for them. Light a fire under this team's ass and go win that game for them. I realize at the end of the day, that's still a traumatic event, and that may still not be enough. But judging by Dave Doeren's body language, not just that game, obviously, his coworker lost a wife. I'm not saying this body language comment has been about this entire season. This wasn't just like an isolated incident. If it was just him looking depressed during the Virginia Tech game, okay, his coworker lost a wife. Okay, someone very close to the team.
Yeah.
But his body language for this entire year, and like I said, it could be that he knew the coach. I'm putting this out there in case, this somehow finds its way onto Twitter going, oh, NC State fan, shits on Dave Doeren for looking depressed when his coworker's daughter had cancer. No, I'm saying it could be that, but I'm just saying, even going back to last year, his body language has given one very simple message. I don't want to be here. That's why I'm tying it back to last season. It's not just this season. His body language, his facial expressions, just the way he's been talking in the media, he clearly just doesn't want to be here. And I know he has done things culture-wise for State. He brought us back to winning 8-9 games. particularly in the late 2010s. He brought us back to the early Tom O'Brien games where we can win 8, 9 games, win a bowl game. But he hasn't won a bowl game since 2017. All right. You then lose to this Virginia Tech team at home. It just, the past few years, he just, outside of the Carolina game and maybe a ranked matchup or a Duke game, he just doesn't really seem to care. Like, he can't be bothered. It's evident in his press conferences. He blames it on the fans constantly. Like, it got so bad to the point that he had to release a statement going, "Oh, yes, I acknowledge the fans are showing up and stuff like that, but you're in year 13, Dave Doran. And if this were under the old college football rules with no transfer portal, no NIL, and you had a down year..."
George voice.
God damn it. Is it there? Is it still there?
It's still there. I let it run for about like 5 seconds to see if it would recorrect itself.
Yeah, I'll just note down the time.
You're good.
Where did the droid voice start? What was I saying?
Man, like it kind of just started. I would.
I just start with like
after a few ranked teams. Like talking about body language of him like being okay after like being sounded like he's like into it after like in like maybe the UNC game and a few ranked games.
Okay. But it's just, and I realize it's not all about the body language. Like, he could just have, resting bitch posture, whatever you want to call it. But it's year 13. If this were under the old laws, like, no NIL, not necessarily no transfer portal, and I saw like a 6-6 in year 12, I think, that's just a year we had a lot of freshmen. That was like a rebuilding year. Like, you'd see like this would happen to every team under the old rules. Every 4 or 5 years, you'd have a year where like your 9-3 teams would go 6-6. Your 12-0 teams would go like 8-4, 9-3 because like freshmen. But you're in the transfer portal era, and I said this last year. I really don't think he has a grasp on the portal. Now, when it comes to some of the transfers that he's brought in, yes, it's good, but not as a whole. There's been a few good transfers. Outside of, pre-transfer portal Dave Doran, when we got a transfer, it was like we struck gold. Ryan Finley, Jacoby Brissett. But the transfers we've gotten in the transfer portal era, outside of, Kean Sloan or the offensive line when we got from Utah State, they really haven't panned out. I mean, Hollywood Smothers, of course, Hollywood Smothers is an outlier. Transferred from Oklahoma, played not enough games his freshman year for it to count against him in terms of redshirt wise. But Dave Doran, you're in year 13. You're in a time and a place in college football where you can rebuild in an offseason. You can rebuild in 3 months. You have a bunch of seniors graduate. Guess what? You can go get more upperclassmen from nowhere.
You can make new seniors.
You can make new seniors. Yes, you can make new seniors.
You can make super seniors.
And with the talent on this, Aiden and I talked about this in a predictions video, which has been lost to the ether. But through no one's fault, it was just hard. It's not your fault.
It was my fault. It was my fault. I'll take accountability.
This team has the talent to go 8-4, despite being how young it is. The majority of our offense being freshmen and sophomores. This team has the talent to go 8-3 and 9-4. And what I said still stands. The limiting factor of that is Dave Doran. Not the talent on the field, not the decision making and football IQ of the players. It's Dave Doran. The reason that Virginia game was so close was horrible clock management. we should have beaten Virginia by more than a touchdown. The reason the Wake Forest game was so close, when Dave Doran gets up by double digits, he starts chewing clock. He's like, I mentioned it last week. He's like those motherfuckers online who play NCAA who start chewing clock the second they lead by a touchdown. I don't chew clock. I just run
I don't
the
know.
ball.
I've played some college football 25 and 26 with this man. Don't let this man deceive you. He has had like a 10-minute drive on the first drive when we were playing each other. Like the first quarter is already like gone by the time I'm
Yeah,
getting
but
the
I
ball
don't
for
run
the first.
chew clock. I
But
don't
then
run
yet
chew
again,
clock though.
yeah, you don't run 2 clock. But then I throw a pick, so it kind of rubs it in a little bit more. Like, okay, there goes my opportunity for this half.
Aiden's like,
Because he's going
no
to run the
touchdown,
ball. He's going to
no
run the ball
touchdown,
more.
no touchdown for Aiden this half. Caveat: our games when we were little were like 45-48. Our games now are like, damn, that was boring. It was 9-6. That game was 8-7.
I mean, when we were little, when we were playing games, like I feel like it was a lot more even. Gareth has gotten really good at the games now. There's a skill gap between us now.
I read a bunch of books about football defense and I understand it now.
Yeah, he understands now. But anyway, I digress. It's just I thought it was funny that Gareth of all people is saying like, you can't chew clock. You can't do it.
Oh
Gareth,
no, I'm just saying,
what do the people what do the people online tell you when you're running the ball? You can lead it out
old
the
head,
expletives. You can lead out the expletives, but we can say old head.
old head, yeah, unk, grandpa. I get told I play grandpa ball a lot. God forbid a boy line up in the I formation. That's all I say. God forbid a boy line up in the I formation. No one complained when Tom Osborne did it in the 90s. No one complained when he did it in the 90s. But no, back to it. My point is, Aiden, we'll be up like 10 points with like 8 minutes to go in the third quarter. And he'll be like running down the play clock, waiting, telling CJ Bailey to wait till there's 3 seconds on the play clock to snap it. Oh, you know, say it's like 3rd and 5 on the opposing 35, fringe field goal range. You know, we've been passing the ball all over them this drive. But the second there's less than 10 minutes left in the third quarter, whoop, it's time to run the ball. It doesn't matter that CJ Bailey could have, 45, could be 8 for 8 on this drive for 50 yards. It doesn't matter. He'll be like, it's 3rd and 6. Not even a draw to catch them off guard. It's 3rd and 6. Let's run inside zone and then kick the field goal or punt the ball because it's French field goal range. He is afraid to throw the knockout punch. Now, when I say this is a hot take, this is more of an outlandish, probably outburst. There were rumors circulating last year that Dave Doran was being considered for the Purdue job. I think he's salty he didn't get it. He wants to go someplace where you can start chewing clock in the third quarter and play field position. Because there are two things that Dave Doran is good at: running out the clock and playing the fucking field position game. And he wanted to go to the Big Ten where, unless you're Ohio State or Oregon, everyone's running the same fucking pro style offense. And it's finishing 10-7, 17-7. Where if you go up, unless you're playing Ohio State or Michigan, if you're up by 10 points in the Big Ten at any point in the game, you're probably gonna win. The other team's probably gonna start running the ball. And what are they gonna do? They're gonna punt the ball to you after 3 plays. And then what are you gonna do? You're gonna go 3 and out. And guess what? You're gonna punt the ball back to them. So I'm not going to be one of those fools and sit here and say Dave Doran needs to be fired after that Virginia Tech game. Like, I'm talking like not fired on the spot. Because the worst thing for us right now, outside of letting him coach the rest of the season, would be to fire him right now.
I don't think that's on the table, though. I mean,
I don't think we can afford it.
I mean this with all due respect to NC State. Who else are you going to get?
I'd
Are
let
you
the
gonna?
offensive coordinator call. I let the offensive coordinator call plays or
I mean,
the head coach.
yeah, but for head coach, I mean, like Dave Doran is, I think, in my mind, the best head coach NC State can get right now. Like, if you wanted like the
I have two
knockout,
names.
if you wanted the knockout home run, you're not getting knockout home run names. Like you're at NC State right now. I feel like Dave Doran's job security is perfectly fine, to Gareth's chagrin. Like I don't see him. Maybe last year, if he performed poorly, they had the conversation. What do you want to be? You want to be a football school or do you want to be a basketball school? NC State decided to go for a knockout punch in basketball, and they're fine with Dave Doran because Dave Doran is a good coach. He's not a bad coach. He's not one of the all-time greats, and I don't think he himself would say that. He's a really good ACC coach. And
I mean, yeah, he's good
maybe
for
if
eight
and
and four.
he's good for 8-4. And maybe if the way this is going to play out in my mind, Dave Doran's going to stay in NC State as long as he wants to. And if a better school comes by and says, "Hey, we want a Dave Doran," that's when he's going to go. I do not, unless NC State whiffs it and goes 3-9. I see no world where NC State fires Dave Doran. I don't even think after a Virginia Tech loss. Now, granted, Virginia Tech is without a head coach. Virginia Tech does not look good, and this is a bad Virginia Tech team. Let's call a spade a spade. This is a bad Virginia Tech team. I'm sorry. It's still a good. Just because you lost to a bad team doesn't mean you're not a good team. Things happen.
Yeah. And the unfortunate thing is, unfortunate and fortunate thing is, the Virginia win's now a ranked win. So there's fuel added to the Dave propaganda. Now, I don't want him gone. Like I will say, at his best, he was a few time mismanagements. He was 2 time management debacles away from 11-1 in 2021. We were a blown call on an onside kick and then a horribly managed clock and a 1-point loss to Miami away from 11-1. And I do think I will acknowledge when Dave Doran's at his best and we're going, 9-3, breathing down the neck of 10-2, he's great. But the problem is if he's not under ideal circumstances, some of those seasons can be very painful for the fans. And I agree. I've talked to my dad about this a little. It's clear we are going all in on basketball. But that's where our history is when it comes to athletic success in revenue sports. That's where our success is basketball. And there's been a lot of talk with like the donors and stuff like that going, we are in the top 10 largest arenas in Division I basketball. We have more national championships and conference championships than 95% of for how recent or for how shit NC State basketball has been for the last 20 years. We have more hardware than 95% of teams and 80% of Power 4 teams. We have more hardware than 80% of Power 4 teams. And the donors' points, I think, was our basketball program's kind of sad for the amount of history we have. Mm-hmm. And I agree. At the end of the day, ultimately more money is going to go into football because it is a more expensive sport. It's going to get more money. But mm-hmm. I think what a lot of people don't realize, it's basketball is just now getting a bigger piece of the pie. That's
it's
just
ROI.
Ultimately
it's a game of ROI. Just to get what you want on your return on investment. You're going to be automatically putting more money into the house as opposed to your stocks. But basketball is your stocks. You're supposed to be getting more money from what you put in with your basketball. The house, the way the market is, it's going to keep on increasing in value. You put as much money as you want into it. It's safe, steady. It's not sexy. Nobody, like, it might be sexy now because, like, the way the market is, the way the football market is now, people are like, ooh, I want to buy that house. I want to buy a big house with a big lawn and everything because that's what everybody else has right now. And for some institutions, that's a very smart investment. But getting the nice 300K house, let that appreciate in value. That's Dave Doran. Get the nice steady house with the nice view. It's not going to be the greatest investment of like you're going to be making millions of dollars off of it, but it's just going to steadily kind of go up. Basketball, NC State, they want those. They want the crypto. They want I'm going to put a lot in and I'm going to get a lot out because that's what this institution is. It's all about return on investment. This has been Stocks with Aiden.
This has been stuff, and indeed, and this wasn't a rant to say I want Dave Doran fired now, but I will say I am more sympathetic to the fans that want him gone, based off of the issues we've had,
And I think
and I can understand that.
The main issue is there's a lot of State fans who don't know what it's like without Dave Doran. They don't know. They've never really paid attention to football or have lived in a world without Dave Doran. And sometimes you just forget what you got. You got a good coach. You got a good institution. Is it going to be a national championship contender? No. I'm sorry. I don't look at NC State football before Dave Doran, after Dave Doran, during Dave Doran. There's never been a point where we're like, NC State's going to win the Natty this year.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's NC State. Sorry to say this, maybe like say Santa isn't real to a kid. NC State's probably never going to win a national championship. And that's okay. Oregon doesn't have a national championship. Freaking, like, there's a lot of good football schools out there that don't even have a national championship and probably will never have a national championship. Texas A&M has a national championship from the 1920s. And that's it.
They're still riding that.
They're still riding that horse. They're riding it off into the sunset. And guess what? Texas A&M probably never going to win a national championship. God love Texas A&M. I love Texas A&M. They're probably never going to win a Notre Dame probably never going to win a national championship. Only like 5 teams can win a national championship on a given year, and you're lucky if you're in that 5. And NC State will never be in that 5. It sucks. And I know there's a lot of young NC State fans out there, maybe even listening to this podcast, saying like, we need a big knockout, swing for the fences coach. You're not going to get that. Enjoy what you have. It's Dave Doran. He's a good football coach. He's good. That's all I can say. Like, you can't fire the guy. In this day and age, like, programs would kill to have a Dave Doran. And Dave Doran seems fine enough with NC State. It's just it's like a marriage you look at and go like, that's an okay marriage. You know,
It works.
They both have flaws, but you know what? They raised their kids, sent them off to college. In America, that's a success.
Yeah. But no, and I think I get their frustration now. I do think if Dave Doran does not make a bowl game this year, there may be some movement in that aspect because there was a lot of talk about that the last time he didn't make a bowl game, but I digress. That's enough talking about the Virginia Tech game. I don't think that loss is indicative of this, like what this team can accomplish this year, because if you look at the Virginia game, that was phenomenal. The offense was great. The defense, not so much. But, like we said, things were going on.
Yes.
But I still think that this team can easily win 8 games. Now they're going to have to now win some games that they're not supposed to win. Because this Virginia Tech loss, they're going to have to steal a game that they're not supposed to win
You know
in
what?
order to go 8-4.
But you know what? Before we do that and go on to the other games, let's take a quick look at NC State's schedule and just do a rough guesstimate of like how it's going to go. Campbell, that's a win. You're 4-2. Notre Dame, I'll take that as a loss. You're 4-3. Pitt, that's tough. 4-4. Georgia Tech, oof. I mean, that ACC schedule is kind of rough. You got to win You got to win against North Carolina, though.
I will say I like our chances against Georgia Tech. Given their struggles with Wake, I like our chances in that game. Pitt, I'm like Pitt's a tough one, but Pitt also like Pitt is this year what NC State was last year. Pitt's kind of fallen flat on its face. Pitt's kind of fallen flat on its face this year. I mean, that West Virginia game was bad. And West Virginia, yes, they're 2-1. West Virginia is not a great team. They lost to Ohio. They got blown out by Kansas, and then they got blown out by a Utah team who kind of got fraud checked recently.
At Notre Dame's only going to be on Peacock? The hell?
Yeah.
Damn it.
Georgia Tech, I will say, this is the same Georgia Tech team NC State took to the wire last year with a lot less firepower. It's at home and everything. I like our chances. Florida State, I'd even give us a chance there after the Virginia game.
The history.
Just the history.
Just history.
Florida State historically struggles in Raleigh.
That's a big thing. I'll give you that. I'll give you
particularly top 10 Florida State teams struggle in Raleigh.
You see, that's like it's a 50-50 for me because like part of this NC State team, I feel like they could pull it off against Florida State, but then it like I think football, like I feel like people too often go like, and I'm just using this as an example because they're the teams that are right in front of me. NC State beat UVA, and then UVA beat FSU. Therefore, NC State is going to beat FSU. Too many people use that logic in football. If you use that logic, I'm sorry, you don't know ball. Like that's not how college football works. But listen, at worst, NC State wins 2 games. At best, I mean, they could. I mean, I could very well look at this and see like they could win 2 games, but then I look at this and maybe Pitt, maybe Georgia Tech, maybe FSU also. But like, it's a long season. Like, lower your expectations. It's not going to be playoff bound. I don't think any State fan thought that, except Gareth. Lost to the ether. I do think you said NC State was going to be like 6-0 going against Notre Dame.
I thought they were going to be, and they had a chance to. I mean, the Duke game was very winnable. The Virginia Tech game was very winnable.
In theory, at the beginning of the season, you do have the potential to win your first 6 games, yes.
Oh, no. What I was saying is
in theory,
there was a lot of
you
people
do have to win out.
who were saying there was a lot of people saying the Duke game was going to be a blowout and we were going to get our shit rocked.
Yeah.
That game was more of an NC State loss than a Duke win. Both teams were actively trying to lose that game.
Yeah.
Like, it was very much not to the extent, we'll get into this in NFL station, not to the extent of the Packers-Cowboys game, but it was like the Packers-Cowboys game in the sense neither team was trying very hard to win that game. Neither team was trying.
Dallas was trying to win that one. Packers deserved to lose that one. We'll get to
that. But
we'll get to that one later. But I'll say this for State. You got Campbell this week. We're going to get into the predictions later. Take it 1 week at a time. You got Campbell. Take care of business there, and then we can start talking about whatever.
Get right this week.
It's a get right week.
So, yeah, I'll take State probably by 30 over Campbell.
Yeah, we'll jump to it when we do predictions. But let's do a quick recap of the rest of the Carolinas. ECU takes down Army 28-6 on a Thursday night matchup. ECU comes out absolutely hot in that first quarter, scoring 31 points. Army kind of looked like they were being a little bit tricky near at the beginning of the second half. Able to score a touchdown, did not get the 2-point conversion. Army's one of those teams, they're never really out of it, but the ECU gets the dagger on the fake field goal to win the game, take it out of reach for Army. Good win for ECU. Bringing it down to Duke. Duke went on the road to Syracuse, absolutely takes care of business against Syracuse. This Syracuse team I was really high on, but they proved like they really need Steve Angeli, and unfortunately, I don't see them being a very competitive team without him. Duke takes care of business in a blowout manner, winning that game 38-3. And one other Carolina matchup, we had App State versus Boise State. Boise State takes care of business at home and handles the Mountaineers. Boise State wins 47-14. Boise State still looking like a very promising group of 5 contender. After that loss to South Florida, a lot of people are counting them out. South Florida, Boise State, these are teams to look out for in the playoff right now. There's a lot of good group of 5 teams to look out for. We can jump into that when we cover our predictions for this week. But outside of the Carolinas, let's talk about that Florida State-Virginia game. That was a good game.
What can I say, Chandler Morris?
Yeah. Virginia able to win in double overtime against Florida State. This was a trap game for FSU, and we kind of knew that going in. Gareth was a little bit more bullish on Virginia. I thought Florida State would take care of business, but damn if Virginia just didn't leave it out all on the line for them. Absolute classic. I love that the back and forth in overtime. That final play where I think Virginia was able to intercept it or at least knock the pass down, seeing the students rush the field. It was a great moment. I was a little bit concerned for some of the FSU players because, damn it, I thought we almost witnessed a murder on live TV. Bro, that was an absolute stampede.
It was, and it's just you can kind of see there before the stampede that a Virginia player literally jumped on top of the FSU player to protect him. You can go back and see. You can see it just out of the corner. He smothers him to try and protect him, and show of class there.
Yeah,
you can appreciate that because that could have gotten bad.
Yeah,
but I will say hats off to Virginia. Now I will say Chandler Morris didn't have the game I thought he would. Bro tried to lose that game on several occasions, but hey, he came up clutch with that touchdown run. He came up clutch. He put the team.
That first half was I don't know what was going on. FSU was turning the ball over. It looked like Virginia just had Florida State dead to rights, and then Virginia just starts fumbling, throwing pick sixes. I was texting Gareth live in the middle of the game. I was like, well, you might be right. Virginia looks like they're going to take care of FSU. And I'm like, never mind. They're bad.
It was like, damn, ball, and goes, never mind. Never mind. But the funniest thing was that we had a text conversation where Aiden's like, damn, Gareth does know ball. I'm like, no, that just means I'm not going to get a single prediction right the rest of the season. And then my March Madness bracket's going to go 0-for-32 in the first round. But, I'm high on Virginia. Do I think they're playoff caliber? No. I do think it works, I do think they're going to be solid. I don't think we'll see them in wherever the ACC championship is this year. I don't think it's Charlotte, but I think it might be Atlanta, actually. Might be Atlanta.
Hang on. Google, where's the ACC championship this year? All right.
That might be basketball.
It has to be in Charlotte.
I just know there's 1 year where it's not coming up.
Uh, it's got to be Charlotte. Yeah, it's still in
You
Charlotte.
think so?
I
It's
was
still
I
in
was
Charlotte.
I was gonna say if it wasn't in Charlotte, I was gonna be pretty upset.
Aiden was gonna riot. But no,
Yeah,
like I think Virginia's gonna be a solid team. I think they can make one of the more like the former New Year's Six bowls, if you will, like higher echelon bowls. But pretty high on them. I like their offense. If they can just limit the turnovers, they can go pretty far. Moving on to some other games that I've been kind of just around the league. Um, let's take a look at that's this week. Sorry. Let's I'll start with
Arizona State
the
won
other.
a big one against TCU. Actually, I'll give brief synopsises for all the Thursday. Uh, no, the Friday night games. Okay, Arizona State versus TCU. Arizona State able to come behind from that one. That was a good look on Arizona State. Um, just the offensive production for TCU was just kind of lacking in that fourth quarter. Just given opportunities to Arizona State, and they were able to capitalize. Arizona State able to come away with that win, come from behind 24 to 20, 27 to 24. Houston versus Oregon State. Okay, in most scenarios, we probably would not cover this game, but Gareth and I were on the phone, I think, watching.
Extenuating circumstances as to why we were up that late, but
Ex-
we're not going to
ex-
get into that.
we ain't getting into that one. I I was on the phone with Gareth, and we had the Houston Oregon State game on.
Holy choke.
that was that was one of the worst games I've ever saw in my life. Like that was a waste of TV like energy on my on like I felt bad. Like I might need to refund my parents using like $2, 2 cents worth of electricity for watching that abysmal of a game. Houston, how the hell do you let Oregon State kind of dominate you in that fashion? For 3 whole quarters, it looked like Oregon State had Houston dead to rights, but freaking Oregon State chokes the game away, and Houston able to win off of an overtime field goal. And didn't Oregon State have the ball first, and they decided to like go for it on fourth down when they were very much well into the field goal rate. That was off of pure ego right there. That game was awful.
If you're going to put your nuts on the table, at least do a decent enough play call to go get it. That game was just a fucking fever dream. I'm sorry. I didn't even know if that game was real or not. I thought I was dreaming half the time. Like with some of the shit, like some of the play call from both teams in that game, Aiden and I were like, are we dreaming right now? What's going on? This game is drunk. Like, what's
Yes.
going on?
Am I drinking? What?
Am I drinking?
I don't even
I've
drink
been
that
drinking.
much.
I had a beer with dinner. Like, what? But we'll move on from that game. That game was, ugh. But from
Let's
there,
let's
um,
talk about the game of the week, Oregon versus Penn State, going into double overtime.
the usual suspect with the usual ending. The Penn State students started chanting "Fire Franklin."
I mean, I don't know what's my beef with Penn State, but if Penn State has no haters, I am dead. But like,
You
I
know
don't
what?
I don't hate them because like they're good. I ain't hating. Just like that Family Guy clip. I did not care for The Godfather. Why? It's the perfect movie. It insists upon itself, Lois. Penn State. I don't like Penn State as a football team. Why? They have a great defense. Uh, Aguilar is back. They look like a good team. They insist upon
Insist upon
themselves.
themselves.
They insist upon themselves.
They insist upon themselves.
they
I mean,
they act like they have something to say, like they're going to have a big statement to make, but really it just all kind of falls flat. It insists upon itself, Lois.
oh,
It
the
ins-
whiteout, the whiteout.
the white
What's
out.
happened to the whiteout the last two times? What's happened? Loss in like the most devastating fashion.
Or
And
maybe they
I
play Maryland for some reason.
just to get their win percentage up in whiteout games.
Just say, oh yeah, we're a tough play. You know what? Okay, so here's my thing with like home field advantage, and like I got flack on this like 5 years ago when I was posting on like social media. I think I was on TikTok or something, and I was just like saying like Virginia Tech's the most overrated home field advantage, and I was
It
using
is.
I was like using Penn State is a tough place to play. Like, you know, the videos and like the clips that you see for years of like quarterbacks like coming out of the huddle and like Mo Bamba's playing everything. I look at that and I go like, yeah, I don't want to play there, but it insists upon itself.
And just with basically all of New England rallying, all of the Northeast rallying behind Penn State, it just further, if you will, it just
Insists upon
further
itself.
insists upon itself. I mean, BC being back, it kind of helps that Penn State's not just the Northeast team now, like with, Boston College being, somewhat okay and like making bowl games and like, Syracuse being better again, that helps too.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I get what you're saying, and just like when you think of frat culture, and then particularly north of the Mason-Dixon line, what school do you think of?
We are.
Exactly. And what we are,
Wait,
you're insisting that you are.
Guys, what did you say?
You're insisting that you are.
It's like Ohio State with the.
You cut out.
Okay, there we go. There we
There
go.
we go. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Just if you have to insist that you are something, are you really that good?
Yes, that is. You know what? I'm bringing that up to one of my coworkers. That's a big Penn State fan. Like, no, I'm glad we were able to bring this all together here. They insist upon themselves.
They do insist upon themselves. But now, with that being said, we'll move. We'll stop insisting upon them sucking in ranked matchups. So, well, see, it just goes back to insisting, like you said. It just
Yeah, well, like for like, I'll give this to Penn State. Like, one hell of a fourth quarter. Like, able to come from behind after being down like 3-17, and then Drew Aguilar able to throw like two like touchdown passes. Like, I think he's like, I don't want to say like he's not a bad quarterback. Like, I think he has a lot of talent behind him, but like the freaking like interception at the end of the game, like people are like, oh, you can't hate on him. He carried the team on his back. He was kind of a little bit of a liability that whole first quarter. That whole first quarter. Now, granted, low scoring matchup on both sides, but Oregon was outgaining Penn State a lot. They just weren't like Oregon wasn't capitalizing. Penn State was just dead in the water, and then able to finally pull it together in that fourth quarter, kind of putting them in in a position where I don't think they should have been there to begin with. Like, able to drag themselves out of a big hole, but I'm sorry, you're in that hole for a reason. That they just like, I think the better team won that day.
yeah, it's just my favorite thing is that Drew Aller, I think, is a great quarterback, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
and he's kind of a liability. But my favorite thing is they always insist, if you will, that he takes care of the ball. And then he proceeds to, following that statement without fail in every single game where they bring up that he takes care of the ball, what does he do on the next play? Does not take care of the ball.
Yes.
And I will leave it at that. Next game on this full slate, we had LSU Ole Miss. I'll admit I was wrong on this LSU team. Garrett Nussmeier has not been that kind of it factor I thought he was going to be. I still think he's a great quarterback, obviously very talented, knows what he's doing, decent decision making. I just don't think he's got that explosiveness. And what I will say, Ole Miss, I think you found your guy in your backup. NC State found CJ Bailey last year when their big guy went down. Grayson McCall, who was supposed to be like, this great quarterback for us after injury, he went down. Trinidad Chambers, transfer from Ferris State, D2 Ferris State, absolutely tearing it up for Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. And I think, honestly, Ole Miss may be for once, as of right now, you know how it is with Ole Miss. They're one of the best teams in the ACC for the first 6 weeks. And then they play real teams again.
Yeah.
But it's a good win for Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. Unfortunately, mathematically speaking, they still could make the playoff, but I don't think LSU is. I've got too many questions about this team. They did beat a good Clemson. They did not a good Clemson team, but they did win at Clemson. They beat Florida, but with how bad Florida is, honestly, they should be beating them by more than 10 at home. You should be beating Louisiana Tech by more than 16 at home. And it's just, I feel like, once again, Brian Kelly. That's all I say that.
Yeah. Good win for Ole Miss, but LSU, I got some questions about you, especially now that Clemson win is not looking as good as it may have once. It's not. I got questions for LSU, but moving on to other SEC matchups, Alabama versus Georgia. Alabama able to kind of win in a dominant fashion against Georgia. I mean, the score sheet says only won by a field. This was a dominant win in my book for Alabama. Absolutely came out swinging on offense, and granted, that second half, low scoring on both sides. It just got that one touchdown from Georgia. Alabama looked good again. And I have questions about Georgia because, you're at home. I felt like the momentum was behind you. And it was looking like there were a couple times where Georgia really could kind of come from behind and take this one, but they never really they took never really took the bull by the horns. Gunnar Stockton reduced to only 130 yards passing, 1 touchdown. It just wasn't that good. I mean, obviously, I'll give him credit. He doesn't make mistakes with the ball. Hasn't thrown a pick yet this year. He looks good, but he's a little kind of safe, if that makes sense, in a good way, in a bad way. But Ty Simpson able to kind of come around and just start slinging the ball around, 276 yards passing, got 2 touchdowns. He looked good that game. I think Alabama has their guy, and I'm not worried about Alabama. They looked pretty good. That Georgia home win streak for 6 years is over now, but Alabama's looking good. Moving on, Texas A&M wins a close one against Auburn, 16-10. It's just the offense on both sides were kind of lacking, but a really good defensive play. Texas A&M kind of took care of business. Auburn had a little bit of life left in them in that fourth quarter, making it a little bit closer of a ball game than it was. But Texas A&M able to get that late field goal to put it pretty much out of reach for them. Solid win for Texas A&M. I think Auburn still is a pretty good team that is definitely going to be making some noise for some like more higher up teams in the SEC. Moving on, Tennessee versus Mississippi State. Mississippi State looked pretty good in this game. It went to overtime. Tennessee able to get the win in overtime with that touchdown, but Mississippi State, I feel like they're kind of coming back now. They're not the bottom feeder of the SEC anymore. It's going to be a tough schedule for them moving forward, obviously, since it's the SEC. But I think this is a good season to be a Bulldogs fan.
Yeah, and for me, it's similar to what we talked about in the MLB. Outside of NC State, there are teams that it makes me happy when they do well. Mississippi State's one of them. I think I mentioned on here. Part of that kind of goes back to the whole College World Series thing where, like, their fans kind of, like, we're very sympathetic. We're like, that COVID thing that happened is bullshit, The Mississippi State coach said we're gonna go win this for state. So, but Mississippi State's just another one of those teams where and I've also just liked teams prior to that they've had, like Dak. When they had Dak Prescott, I liked them. They're very good. Just
those Dak Prescott years were elite. I remember that one year, I think it was like the first year of the playoffs. Like there was like a 2-week span where like Ole Miss and Mississippi State were like the 1 and 2 team. That was a good time to be a college football fan.
It was, and I will say, I like Tennessee as well. But what's concerning me is Aguilar's not necessarily as careful with the football as late. Now, the veer and shoot is an offense where you can be a little bit more careless with the ball, just because of the wide splits. There's going to be less defenders, so you're going to try riskier passes. I know they ended up getting the win, but Joey Aguilar in his recent starts has been having more interceptions than touchdowns. I don't know if that's something to be kind of aware of going forward. Another game I want to highlight as holy you got robbed, Batman, is Georgia Tech Wake Forest. If that penalty is called, Wake Forest wins that game. That game's over. I'm sorry. Wake Forest is one of State's rivals. I hate them. For once, I actually feel bad. Like, I genuinely, for once, feel bad for Wake Forest. I love Georgia Tech. I like Haynes King. Haynes King for Heisman. We are Haynes King supporters here. Another Georgia Tech, another team where I like it when they're doing well. But holy, you got robbed, Batman. Call the fucking Gotham police. Jesus Christ. But this is probably the best game Wake's played all year. I know it's a loss, so obviously not the best game they played all year, but this is the best Wake's looked all year. Robbie Ashford looked unstoppable. Claiborne looked unstoppable as well. Things were just kind of firing on all cylinders for both teams. No sacks, so O-lines both had pretty clean games from what I see. I mean, obviously, Haynes King did his thing with 100 yards on the ground, over 200 yards in the air. I know ultimately at the end of the day, you've got to win. And Wake Forest could have helped themselves by not going for 2. But I get what Wake Forest coach is trying to do there. You have a call where you feel like you got screwed. And at that point, you're probably a little angry. The game shouldn't be in overtime. If I were a football coach, I could see myself doing this. Screwy call sends the game to overtime. What does Gareth do? Fuck it. We're going to end this shit right now. We're not going to give these refs another chance to fuck this up. We're going for 2 right now, and you don't.
Yeah.
And I will say, yes, they did get screwed, but also at the same time, just kick the fucking extra. Just kick the extra.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's one of those things. You get called a genius if it works. You get clowned on if it doesn't. But tough loss for Wake Forest. I don't think like people are like kind of saying, "Oh, Georgia Tech's on fraud alert." This tough matchup. Like this is what the ACC is all about. Can you win that game that you don't want to be at? For the ACC football, for ACC basketball, that's like the rainy Tuesday night game in Atlanta, and nobody wants to be there. Yeah,
and no
at
one is
Georgia
there.
Tech. And no one's there. But for football, it's being there on a noon kickoff against Wake Forest. These two things are the same thing.
Yeah.
But props to Georgia Tech for being able to keep composure after going into halftime down 17-3 against a team that you cannot lose to, and finding a way to win on some questionable calls, maybe, but finding a way to win per chance. But you found a way to win. On to Virginia Tech now. But
God forbid the worst happens.
Bro, what if Virginia Tech just goes on a run?
Not so funny now, is it?
But anyway, other matchups: Illinois versus USC. Illinois able to get the surprising win over USC. I did not really see this coming at all, but Luke Altmaier able to pull just a clinic out there, 328 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Jaden Mavia also had a great game for USC, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. But I did not expect this fight from the Fighting Illini. It was just it was something to see. I mean, going into after the fourth quarter, there was a point Illinois was up 31-17. Granted, USC able to get 2 touchdowns, but the last second field goal for Illinois was able to seal this one for them. Maybe Indiana's just like that, and Indiana could just actually be a really good power in the Big Ten now, and they're not just schedule merchants. But this game, I was pleasantly surprised with Illinois' performance.
I was too. It's a nice bounce back for Brett Bielema's team. I kind of thought Illinois was obviously statistically they're not dead in the water for the playoff, but for all intents and purposes, after that Indiana game, I kind of thought they were. But I knew they were still a good team. I figured, they're still probably going to be good for a 9-3, 8-4, ceiling of 10-2 type deal. But they showed some fight with a USC team who they had some good results, but also were kind of unproven at the same time. So hats off to Brett Bielema and the Fighting Illini. Great game. On to the next. That's just one of those games where you just gotta, at this rate, you're in survive and advance mode. Because you're not Ohio State, you're not Michigan, you can't afford to slip up more than once. So survive and advance for you at that point.
Notre Dame versus Arkansas. Notre Dame absolute offensive domination against Arkansas, scoring 56 points. Arkansas. There were times where it was looking a little bit close in that first quarter. They were able to kind of pull some stuff together, but I was pleasantly surprised by the defense of Notre Dame in this game. The defense has been lacking for the past couple games, especially against Purdue, but Notre Dame able to get a solid win. Arkansas fires Sam Pittman, and the Razorbacks are going to be who's their interim coach? Is it
Petrino?
What is this, the third time?
Rick Pitino and Bobby Petrino are back coaching.
Let's go.
The olden days are back. NC State's got a player who's a criminal. NC State's got a coach who's gotten in trouble for recruiting. Rick Pitino's back and mob bossing it up. Got Bobby Petrino coaching football again. The good times are back, people. You're in for some prime sports watching in 2025, 2026.
Love to see it.
We are back, baby.
We are back. BYU versus Colorado. BYU able to get the win over Colorado. Colorado looked to come out this game high, but kind of slowed off near the end. BYU remains undefeated and is going to be They look to be pretty solid in a Big 12 that's pretty chaotic. Louisville versus Pitt. Louisville gets the close win over Pitt. They just came from behind and were able to kind of have a dominant third and fourth quarter. Louisville's looking good. I have questions about Pittsburgh. Mainly, I'm trying to figure out if they're good because they look good, but they also look horrible. They start out strong, scoring 24 points in the first half, are like 27 points in the first half. Goose egg for the second half. I don't know how to feel about them, but Louisville continues their undefeated streak. Cincinnati gets a big win over Kansas, 37-34. I was pretty high on this Kansas team, and I wasn't really sold on Cincinnati yet. Cincinnati gets a big win on the road. Let's see any other games that are worth mentioning.
I'm doing a quick once over. I mean, we had a battle of the triple option, Navy and Rice. I'm surprised this Navy team isn't ranked considering how they finished last year and they didn't lose anyone to graduation or the portal. I'm really high on this team. They really kind of spread out where their offense comes from. I mean, obviously, similar to the Army team last year, the star of the show is the quarterback Blake Horvath. Army with a little bit different style of option than or Navy with a little different style option than Army, more kind of triple option focused, while Army's last year is more kind of honestly like wing T focused. But Rice, another team who's recently adopted the triple option, they've kind of modified the pistol to their liking. Navy jumped out to a 14-0 lead, then Rice cut it to 11. Navy kind of put the game away at 21-3. Rice came back with a touchdown, a field goal, but ultimately at that point the game was out of reach. For Navy, the name of the game was just, eat your vegetables till that Notre Dame game. I don't think they're going to win that game. But for right now,
damn, if they aren't scary sometimes. Like Navy's scary. Navy's scary the week after you play Navy. Real Notre Dame ball knowers know this. The Navy hangover is very real.
Although Navy doesn't have an easy schedule around Notre Dame either. They take on another one of my group of 5 picks to be, possibly a playoff is in North Texas with, future. I think he could be a Heisman candidate. I mentioned him last year. Drew Mestemaker with North Texas leads Division I in touchdowns thrown. And then they have South Florida right after that at home. So tough stretch for both teams. But moving on, is there any more games in college football you want to hit on, or do you want to? And on to some college football. We're kind of gonna go lightning round because Aiden and I have kind of had it with our teams right now, and NC State doesn't really have a breakdownable matchup this year. No disrespect this week. No disrespect to Campbell. Dave Doran, so help me God, just fucking win. That's all I'm saying. I don't care if it's pretty, just win. At this rate. Moving on.
Well, starting off Friday in the Carolina region, North Carolina region, we got Charlotte versus South Florida. South Florida looks pretty strong. I know they had that Miami loss, but I think they take care of business against Charlotte.
Yeah, it's an ass beating.
Oh, yeah. Noon matchup. North Carolina versus Clemson. Oh, my gosh. These teams are bad. And I'm not going to lie. Listen, Clemson is bad, but they're not UNC. Clemson's going to win this. Like, Clemson's bad. Let's call a square a square. But they had life in them after Agnelli went out against, like, in that Syracuse game. The Clemson's was able to move the ball. I'm not letting my biases blind me on this one. I'm sorry, Clemson's winning this one.
Yeah, I think it'll be a little bit closer than people think for a few quarters, and I think that Clemson's gonna pull away in the fourth. That's my take for that one. I really think the keys for if Carolina wants to win any more games this year, I think you gotta roll with Max Johnson. But I don't
You
think
know
that
what? If Max Johnson starts, are they starting
I might
Max
give you
Johnson?
guys a chance. No,
Hang on. What?
I don't think they are.
Okay.
Bill's made comments about him sticking with Gio. If Max Johnson's starting, I genuinely might tip it in your favor.
Yeah. I'm even then. I'm sorry. I don't think that's a decider. Like I got Clemson winning it. But moving on to the Arrowverse, 1:00 kickoff. Wake Forest versus Virginia Tech. This is a battle of teams. This is a battle of teams, and you cannot deny that. This will go down as a game. I mean, two teams that look really good, but also are objectively bad football teams.
But Inner Sandman, Aiden. But Inner Sandman. It's not about record. It's about vibes.
but my inner Sandman. You know,
Wake by 10. Fuck
yeah, I'll give it. I'll give it to Wake. I'll give it to Wake because, like, part of me was thinking, like, you know what, maybe Virginia Tech could pull something off. It would be very funny if they did, but I got to give it to Wake. NC State versus Campbell. Give me State.
Don't fucking. That's on.
App State versus Oregon State. Give me App State, Oregon State. Like, bro, you had it, but I'm sorry. I Oregon State going 0-12 now.
I mean, they lost to North Texas by like 50 points. Give me App State. Give me App State. Give me App State.
Yeah. App State. Does Duke have a bye? Oh, Duke go. Oh, 10:30 kickoff. California. Duke is going to Cali.
I'm not going to watch that game, but I'm somehow going to end up watching that game.
That's going to be on at work, so I'll be at work, but I'll still be there. Gareth is going to be texting me when, like, I'm cleaning up and, like, some of the game's, like, going long, and he's like, I'm still up watching this. You know what? Okay, Cal's weird. Now, I'll give you this. Cal is a weird team, but, man, why is this actually a good game? Like, why is this actually
Duke's?
Why is this actually like an interesting game? Like, that I feel bad. You know who I feel bad for? There's like some kid, maybe in the Triangle area. He's like the one Duke football fan. I'm thinking like he's like the one Duke football fan, and like his dad was like, "Okay, son, you can stay up to watch this match," but then he's probably going to like tell him to go to bed at like the end of the second quarter because this game's not ending until like 2:00. Probably.
Yeah, I got Duke in this one, but I like the line. I'll take Duke by 3 in this one. I just think Cal's a screwy team.
Yeah, because I could see them winning this, but I could also see them like losing bad. You know what? I'm going Cal on this one.
Like, because you look at them and you're like, how the fuck are they 4-1? Like, they got absolutely ass blasted by San Diego State. But then they beat Oregon State by, 19, beat Texas Southern by 32.
They got a good win against Boston College.
That is true. That's a decent Boston College team. I'll give them that.
Yeah, I'm going back. I'm choosing Duke.
All right.
But
That wraps it up for the Carolinas, right?
yeah, that wraps it up for North Carolina. Now let's go. Random games that stick out to us. BYU versus West Virginia Friday night should be a good matchup. Give me BYU on that one.
I got BYU as well. I like their offense. They not typical of a normal, not a normal BYU offense, but I like it. They move the ball well. They're efficient. I like them.
Pitt versus Boston College. Give me Pitt.
Why is this former Big East matchup looking at me funny? I want to like Pitt. If you were to able to listen to the video that was lost in the ether, Aiden and I would be probably what people would accuse of Pitt dick riding. That entire video was just Pitt
Yes,
dick riding.
bro. I said Pitt was going to beat Notre Dame, and they like that was going to be Notre Dame's one loss.
Give me Boston College. This is one of my upset picks of the week. This Boston College team, I feel like, is better than their 1-3 record. I'm sorry, I think Pitt's worse than their 2-2 record. They came back at the end of that West Virginia game, and I know rivalry games are screwy, but Pitt looked bad. They're bad.
Yeah.
They look bad so far. They might be good, but so far, the resume is not impressive.
Navy Air Force. Just a good matchup. I got Navy in it, but just I like highlighting the armed forces matchups.
I do. Air Force, for whatever reason this season, there's no reason they should be bad. They returned a lot of starters, and usually for a service academy, that usually means they're going to have a good couple years. But for some reason, they've started out 1-3. I do know Air Force has had kind of a rough schedule, but I'm still giving this one to Navy. This Navy team is going to be scary this year.
Indeed. Texas, Florida. Give me Texas.
Yeah, get me Arch to flex on the haters again this week.
Vanderbilt, Alabama. Why is Vanderbilt looking at me kind of funny? I don't know.
It's all gonna depend on the Alabama we get.
Yeah.
If we get Alabama that went in a Sanford Stadium, this could be an ass beating.
Yeah.
If we get Alabama that went into Doak Campbell Stadium, it could be an ass beating the other direction.
Yeah. You know what? It's in Bryant-Denny Stadium. I'll take Alabama.
I'll take Alabama as well. I like this Vanderbilt team. I definitely shorted them more than I should have, saying they were going to go 4-8. I thought they were just a one-hit wonder, but they're one win away from bowl eligibility. I'm going to give this one to Alabama. I just don't think Vanderbilt will have what it takes to win in Bryant-Denny. It's. I feel like it's too intimidating.
That's a tough ask. Notre Dame versus Boise State. This is a really good Boise State team. Depends on which Notre Dame defense shows up, but I think Notre Dame could win this one big.
Yeah, I feel like this is kind of going to be an ass beating again. I know I've been saying ass beating a lot this week, but I feel like I'm not to get too mathematical, but the beating ass potential this week is exponentially higher than other weeks.
Here's an interesting one. Virginia versus Louisville.
Miller Moss versus Chandler Morris, two, I think, underrated quarterbacks in the ACC. Louisville's been making some noise, people saying they should be ranked, Virginia being ranked after beating Florida State. Miller Moss, I haven't totally been sold on him. Decent yards, decent stats, but 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. That's just got me wondering, especially after 4 games. Give me Chandler Morris and UVA to win.
Yeah, I'm going to have to disagree with you on this one. I think maybe UVA might be a little bit high, like it was still riding that high from the FSU game. I like the looks that this Louisville team gives. Give me Louisville in a close win at home. Then after that,
Florida State.
Miami versus Florida State. Oof. Man, this is a good one. What are your thoughts, Gareth?
I feel like it's at Florida State. I feel like that's going to give them kind of an edge.
Yeah.
I feel like Miami, when I say this is Miami's true test, Notre Dame was a test, but that was at home.
Notre
This
Dame
is
was a
like,
test, but you could have, like, let's be real, like Miami or Notre Dame could have lost that one. And like, we still, unless it was a blowout, we still wouldn't know what team this is.
yeah, I feel like this is really going to be, this is going to show who FSU is, and this is going to show who Miami is.
Yes.
Because I think the jury's still out on that Alabama team. Great recovery, great win at Georgia. Jury's kind of still out on them. They looked a little flat against Florida State. This is a very much who are you game for both these teams. And yes, it's on the road for Miami. Miami really hasn't played anyone outside of home. This is a who are you, Miami?
A true road test.
A true road test. This is who are you, Miami?
Yeah.
I'm gonna give this one a close one to Florida State. I think I'm gonna give Florida State probably by 3. I think Miami will look good. We'll see that Miami is a good team. I just think that Florida State's home field advantage is going to be too much for them.
I think this is going to be a bad week for Notre Dame because I got Florida State winning this one. And I'm going to say this in my upset pick. I got Mississippi State beating Texas A&M on the road.
Dude, you beat me to it. I was going to say that game's looking at me funny. That's my upset pick of the week. I got Mississippi State over Texas A&M. Texas A&M, they've got, I don't mean this in like a derogatory way. Texas A&M's offense is just kind of screwy.
Yes.
Like, I got a weird feeling about it. Like, how do you let Utah State score 22 points and then turn around and only score 16 against Auburn at home? I know Auburn's a great team, but like, you scored 40 on Notre Dame on the road, and Notre Dame's a better team than Auburn, in my opinion. And I realize you can't,
defense. Notre Dame's defense was very questionable. So
and I will say that comes down to like what you and I talked about. You can't do the really whole tit for tat thing. Like, no one thinks NC State's better than Georgia, but if you go based on the circle of suck logic,
yeah,
you get what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
you can't go off the circle of suck logic like that.
Yeah.
But I got Mississippi State and this one over Texas A&M. I'm just not entirely convinced by Texas A&M. They're not very consistent. That's all I'll say. They're not very consistent. And Mississippi State, while they don't have the ranking, they don't have the flashy ones. Mississippi State is one thing that is consistent. You know what we're gonna get. You know what we're gonna get. And how we're gonna get it. Mississippi State, even in the loss to Tennessee, looked very good.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee's not a easy place to play. But I will say, speaking of overrated atmospheres,
Ohio no! Field. Oh my
Ohio
Lord!
Field. Yes, you've upset Alabama there. I'm not saying it's not a good atmosphere. I'm not saying it's not a great atmosphere. I'm not saying it's not a hard place to play. I just think the difficulty is oversold a bit.
Mm-hmm.
The difficulty is easier than advertised. I'm not saying it's easy. I still think it's probably one of the toughest places to play in college football. I just think the difficulty of playing there is a little oversold.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's Lane Stadium overrated. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's fraud alert level bad.
Yeah.
But I will say slightly overhyped. I'm not saying it's an easy place to play. I'm even saying it's a difficult place to play. I'm just saying it's a little over exaggerated.
Yes.
Give me Mississippi State.
Any other games you want to highlight?
Not really. I mean, outside of those games, Now, we've been spoiled with the games we've had as of late. So I
Mhm.
shouldn't say this is a down week. We've been downright spoiled, particularly with last weekend. One
This is a
game I want to,
weekend where I don't think there would be too much drama if you scheduled a wedding.
yeah. One, never mind. That's Kansas State, not Kansas. Whoops. Yeah, I don't really have any other game that's really speaking to me. Western Kentucky, Delaware on Friday might be a good one. Delaware, despite recently moving up to FBS, is kind of punching above their weight.
Mm-hmm.
Beating a really good UConn team. That was a UConn team that's kind of, was people thought could make some noise this year, but, Delaware took care of business against them. Outside of that, there's no real games I see on here. I mean, you've got some midweek action hasn't started. There's some action going on.
It's
Just
not
not
true,
midweek
Mac.
action.
It's not
It's not
midweek
true
action.
match. There's not a blizzard, and these teams are fighting to go 6-6. It's not action yet.
We will not be covering Maction until it's Maction.
It's got to be cold outside, so give it 2 weeks.
It's got to be a Wednesday.
It's got to be a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday.
Yeah.
Should we move on to pro ball, unfortunately?
Yeah, let's go over to pro ball. We can keep it short. Panthers, Patriots.
What the fuck?
Oh, my Lord.
I watched this game in a bar with Sarah. Sage Price.
The one Panthers fan in that bar. Did you have any Panthers paraphernalia on?
No, not really. I didn't really have any Panthers paraphernalia on. All I have is a jersey, and we were walking around Rockport, which for those of you who don't know, Aiden and I went to Gloucester when he was here. Rockport's kind of like the sister town to Gloucester. It's on the other side of the peninsula. Very big, like fish, Cape Cod vibes. And I didn't want to be walking around in that just because, like, we were going in and out of shops, trying food. I didn't want to get stuff on it. And, like, Sarah and I were going to, not a nicer lunch, but we didn't know where we were going to go for lunch. So I'd, if we ended up going to a nice lunch, I didn't want to turn up a Panther jersey to a nice lunch. I mean, we ended up watching the game in, like, a bar and grill. But, like, still, we didn't know what the plan was at that point.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
But I will say, Panthers, they look good for about 2.5 quarters. Like, they moved the ball well, they just couldn't finish. Now, when we look at the game as a whole, Dalton needs to take the reins for. The offense looks somewhat serviceable. He's willing to put the ball in tight spaces and can do that. Bryce cannot do that yet. I'm using the word yet. He's still developing. Like I said, I was telling you, Bryce needs to understand it again before he starts.
Yeah.
He needs to have I understand it again.
Yeah.
And this goes back to my point that I think I've made on here several times last year. I don't think he's being developed properly. Yes, is Canales the QB whisperer? Is Bryce playing better than he was under the last head coach? Yes. But my thing is, Bryce needed to play more preseason games where there are less consequences for his actions. The last 2 years, he's maybe played a drive in the preseason. No. You don't have Dalton play those preseason games. You have Bryce play those preseason games. Get him some experience. Low stakes. Get him to work through that. Other than that, what the actual fuck? That's all I'll say about the game.
Yeah, it was not a good look whatsoever. Drake May had a pretty solid game. Shout out Drake May. Anyway, Falcons get a pretty good win over the Commanders. Marcus Mariota was under the helm for the Commanders. Commanders kind of looked a little bit solid, but Falcons able to bounce back big after a big loss to the Panthers. Steelers, Vikings. Steelers were able to edge out the win over the Vikings. I called this one just because Steelers find ways to win in these weird games, and I'm sorry, Dublin game has weird game written all over it for me. I remember this one play I sent the video to you, Gareth. Is like Aaron Rodgers standing in the backfield, like commanding his team to do the tush push, and he does not get involved. That pretty much summed up this game for me.
Yeah.
But let's see. Giants big win over the Chargers. Jackson Dart made his debut as Giants starting quarterback and had a decent enough game. I mean, 111 passing yards, 1 touchdown. Like, nothing that really like blows your socks off or anything like that. But was able to get some pretty solid rushing yards, 54, 1 touchdown. Jackson Dart just kind of had a pretty decent game, but for the Giants, that's a historic debut.
Yes.
Like, I'm not going to say this is like, oh my gosh, Jackson Dart, second coming, like best QB in the draft. No, but it was a good game, and you got to give him credit for that. Eagles, Buccaneers. Eagles able to continue their winning ways. Buccaneers were making it a game kind of near the end, but Philadelphia just looks pretty dominant, and they're just one of those teams that I don't think anyone has the answer to. Jacksonville got a big win over the 49ers. Chiefs over the Ravens. The Ravens are not looking good right now. Chiefs get the win 37-20. Gareth, do you have any thoughts on this Ravens team?
It was just everything that could have gone wrong in that game did. The defense, like we talked about last week, necessarily isn't as solid. And it didn't help with just how many turnovers they had on offense. Lamar popped the ball up a few times. It was just an ugly win, an ugly loss overall. I thought they were gonna really write the narrative in that first half, but just with all the, like I said, turnovers, the interceptions, just this Ravens team just looks. I can't even describe it. They have no idea what's going on. That's all I'll say. They've got no idea what's going on.
She's out to lunch, as Gareth would say, at when we used to work, and somebody's just not doing the job that they need to do. They're just out to lunch right now.
But, all the pieces are there, but everybody's out to lunch.
Yep. Packers Cowboys. This was surprising. High scoring game. There was a little bit of everything in this, and I stand by my fact. Packers deserve to lose this one. I'm sorry that you lucked out. That final drive, like where the Packers had the ball going into like the final seconds of overtime. Like Love, I don't know who was responsible for that time management, but that was horrible. Love just barely able to get off a pass, and somehow it falls incomplete with 1 second left on the clock. I swear that second stayed on longer than any second before, but Packers able to get the game-tying field goal in an overtime thriller that I didn't see coming. Cowboys showed some life in this one. Dak looked good. It's really good offensive play from both sides. We even had a block field goal, an extra point field goal returned for a 2-point score for Dallas. Like it was an interesting game. It was one like Cowboys fans. I feel like you can feel pretty confident in that one. after that, because although the Packers look a little bit questionable with that loss to the Browns, Cowboys showed a lot of fight, and it might have been like the whole Micah Parsons situation. Not saying like anyone on it was all love from both sides, but maybe this game just meant a little bit more to the Cowboys, and they were able to kind of pull off some stuff that I didn't see coming. But going into the Monday night games, Dolphins Jets, Dolphins win, but at what cost? Tyreek Hill looks like he's going to be out maybe for the season. That's a big loss for the Dolphins right there, but able to get the win 27-21. And Bengals Broncos win in pretty dominant fashion 28-3.
Yeah, I kind of want to go back to this Packers game.
Yeah.
That just kind of, the win was there for the taking. They played their drive in overtime like they didn't want to win.
Yeah.
They acted like they were playing for the tie the entire time. And I get you were a little pressed for time, but had you managed the clock a little better, you could have had a few more shots at the end zone without having to, warp time and space. Like you mentioned, that was the longest second of my life. Going from 3 to 2 to 1. Sorry, longest 2 seconds of my life. Someone had to warp the space-time continuum for that play to happen. I'm like, geez, were we talking?
We were calling. Yeah. Like that's kind of our thing now. Like we like calling during like Sunday night football. Like we
Just
get some
talk it
good
through.
Yeah, just talking what's going on.
Like for the podcast. That's why this is run on so long. We had our thoughts like there.
Yeah.
But like I said, unfortunately, this game ended and this game, I feel like the tie's the right way for this game to end. The Packers are the better team, but they did not deserve to win. The Dallas Cowboys are the worst team, but they also did not deserve to lose by how they played.
Yes.
I think a tie was the perfect ending for this. Aiden has changed my mind. A tie was the perfect ending for this game. Because in no world should the Packers lose to this Cowboys team. In no world should that Dallas team beat this Packers team. But goddamn, they deserved it. They deserved
the ending that they got.
They deserve the ending that they got. Yes, did that Dallas team probably deserve to beat the Packers with how they played? Absolutely. But should they have? Hell no. Fuck no. Not in a million years. Your dumbasses traded Micah Parsons. You're trying to fuck this up on purpose. This is some Ted Lasso shit out here. I'm sorry. I'll say it. I think Jerry Jones is Ted Lassoing the Dallas Cowboys, setting them up for some like crazy miracle comeback movie 20 years in the future. Like, the Dallas Cowboys have been the bottom feeders of the NFL for 20 years now. Young and aspiring, spry Lane Kiffin has made his way into the NFL again. And he's here to fix the Dallas Cowboys. Hell yeah. America.
Netflix signed America's Team Part 2 already. We already got the script.
We're calling it now. Don't say we didn't warn you.
Yeah. But anyway, do you want to move on to predictions for this week?
That would be great, but also depressing. Let's do it.
Alrighty. I mean, starting off with the Panthers, we got the Dolphins.
In theory. In theory. I like this matchup.
I like this matchup. Listen, it's at home. The Dolphins don't have Tyreek Hill. Tua turn the ball over is going to be playing.
Let's just hope Tua doing his best Michael Penix impression.
Oh my! I see it. Yo, Panthers are going to win this one. I see the vision. Panthers win this one big. Yo, this is like the first time where I'm like, yo, Panthers actually might win in a blowout.
Especially if Dalton's starting. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The Red Rifle back.
Oh yeah. Even if Bryce Young plays, I see the vision.
Boy, he ain't out of focus. We see the vision.
Bro. Panthers, I gotta win it. It might be 28-10.
Yeah, I agree.
I would say 30-0, just because I see this could be a copy and paste of the Falcons.
I'm gonna go 27-17. They do still have some explosive weapons, and Tua can kind of find them still, even through all the CTE. So
yeah. But moving back, we got the Thursday night matchup, 49ers versus the Rams. It should be a good matchup. Give me the Rams in this one.
I do as well. I feel like the Rams are just playing better at this point. I know the 49ers under Mac Jones are all right, and he served his purpose well, but just as of recent, I just don't really trust the 49ers. They just don't seem like a complete team right now. And I know, Purdy's been injured and this and that. They're trying to get back on their feet, but sorry. Got to give this one to the Rams and old Matty Stafford.
Vikings are still playing over the pond as they play in London this week against the Browns. I got the Vikings winning this one.
You know what? These games on the British Isles, weird things have happened.
Yes.
And dare I say, God forbid you be on the losing end of one, because it does not bode well. At least in college. I don't know what happens when you lose in Ireland, because is this the first year they've had an Ireland game for the NFL?
Mm-hmm.
You know what? God forbid you lose in Ireland. That's all I'll say. Give me the Browns. God forbid you lose in Ireland.
Ooh. Colts coming back after a loss to the Rams, going up against the Raiders. I see them bouncing back big. Colts win. Let's see. Giants, Saints. Sure, Giants. Cowboys today. All right, good game. Eagles versus Broncos. I got the Eagles winning this one, but it could be close.
I do as well. That game, I don't know. The Broncos just don't seem to have it this year, but they've played teams pretty tough. I mean, so they played the Chargers and the Colts pretty tough. So, I agree. I agree on that one. Close, but the Eagles. One game I'm interested in is that's next week.
I got one game I'm interested in. The battle of the 1-3 teams, Texans versus Ravens. I think
who actually sucks. Who actually sucks bowl.
I think the Ravens suck less than the Texans. Ravens bounce back big this week.
Yeah. Hey, and if the Panthers win, they have a better record than Stroud.
Ooh.
Yeah, I got the Ravens. I don't think there's bad. It's similar to last year how the Ravens started 1-2. They were not losing record bad. I don't think the Ravens are 1-3 bad. Give me the Ravens to go improve their record to 2-3. Something with this Texans program is just off right now. I can't quite place it. I'm sure we'll know in a few weeks, but I think it's just what's that movie? There's Big Trouble in Little Chinatown or something like that.
I don't know what you're talking about, but that sounds about right.
Yeah, that's just my feeling about the Texans. Something screwy's going on there.
Yeah. But a pretty good 4:00 matchup, Buccaneers versus Seahawks. I think this one's the best in the 4:00 slate. I got the Buccaneers winning this one.
I do as well. I'm very high on the Bucs, despite being in the NFC. I think they've got a lot going for them. Came back and took the Eagles to the Flyers. Give me Baker Mayfield and Buccaneers. This one.
And then after that, we got Sunday night football, Patriots versus Bills. Patriots looked pretty good against the Panthers, but then yet again, a lot of teams do. And the Bills have been on a hot streak. Give me the Bills winning this one at home.
Yeah, I got it. I
You
think
got
the Bills
droid
are
voice.
Yeah, is it still going?
You're good. You're good. You
Yeah,
can
I-
talk.
yeah, I think the Bills are one of the better teams in the NFL. I don't really not see dropping this game at all. That's no disrespect to the Patriots, but it's just away from home, they really haven't necessarily been that great. So, well, they're 1-1 away from home, but they just haven't looked convincing. So, give me the Bills.
And then Monday Night Football, we got Chiefs versus Jaguars. I mean, Chiefs have looked questionable at times, but I think they win this one against the Jaguars.
Yeah, I agree. That's just the black magic has to come back at some point. They're not going to let the Chiefs go 1-3.
Yeah. But I mean, after that, you have anything else you want to add about the NFL?
Nope, that's it. Should we go on to MMA for right now?
Yeah, let's do a quick prediction for UFC 320. UFC 320 going to be in Las Vegas, Nevada. We have a really solid pay-per-view card. Starting off at the bottom, we got Joe Pfeiffer versus Abus Magomedov. Joe Pfeiffer, he's kind of like one of these. He's starting to be more up and coming now in the middleweight. He's been on a little bit of a win streak, and is starting to look pretty good. I'm pretty high on him and his style. He does orthodox, and he's just pretty tough out of the dirt kind of fighter. I got him winning this fight. After that, we have Joshua Emmett versus Youssef Zahal in a featherweight matchup. Josh Emmett, he's one of these fighters that he's kind of had some ups and downs. Had a title run, had a title fight against Yuri Rodriguez, then had a tough draw against Ilya Tupura, but able to get a solid win over Bryce Mitchell. But recently coming off a loss against Leon Murphy. He's just an overall solid fighter. Youssef Zahal coming from Morocco. He's just been on an absolute tear. It depends on which type of Josh Emmett shows up this fight, but I think I got to give this one to Youssef Zahal winning this one. And then after that, we have a light heavyweight matchup. Winner of this could try to make another claim for a heavyweight fight, especially depending on how this championship fight goes on later in the night. But it's a fight between two fighters I really like, Yuri Prochazka and Khalil Roundtree. I'm a big fan of Khalil Roundtree. He's just one of these like fun fighters, really good, really just a good guy to get behind. Went on a really solid win streak and then went up against Alex Pereira. Was one of the few fighters in the Alex Pereira kind of era that we witnessed last year that kind of took him to that really challenged Pereira and was able to get a good win against Jamal Hill after that loss to Pereira. You know, something but I also like Yuri Prochazka. He's just one of these weird Chechenian fighters that it just in his own world. He goes in like light fasts and stuff like that. But you know, there's something about this. I'm really feeling Khalil Roundtree getting the upset on this one. Then after that, we have a bantamweight title fight of Merab versus Corey Sandhagen. Merab is just on a different level in this division, and I think he's going to continue his title reign. I got Merab winning this one big, and this leads us to the main event of the night. It's a rematch of Magomed Ankalaev versus Alex Pereira. This is going to be really interesting. Magomed Ankalaev seemed to be like the one fighter that is Alex Pereira's kryptonite. Has good grappling game and was able to really kind of take advantage of Alex Pereira's weak points and was able to win in a unanimous decision. Alex Pereira's coming off this one really motivated. So this is going to be a great fight to watch, but I might have to give this one to Magomed Ankalaev. I just don't see a world in which Alex Pereira is really going to be able to overcome him, especially coming off his most recent loss to him. I still feel like there's a little bit of questions that need to be answered with Alex Pereira. Went on a generational run in the light heavyweight, but I think this is Magomed Ankalaev's time, so I have him winning this matchup. But that sums up my UFC 320 predictions. We have a really good fight card this month, and I'm looking forward to this. Probably, in my opinion, might be one of the best ones this year. But we'll see what happens. And later this month, we are going to have 321 in Abu Dhabi, where we're going to have Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane. That card's looking pretty solid, but we'll cover that later. And I can't wait to cover 320 next week, see what happens, and hopefully we should get some really good fights out of it.
Definitely, and I'm looking forward to these fights being more readily available as we go forward. The whole CBS deal you're saying to me.
Oh yeah. Starting January, it's going to be a lot easier to watch UFC matches. So I'm really excited to see the direction in which the sport goes.
Anything else you want to add?
Nope.
With that being said, we thank you guys for listening. We appreciate it. We know this is a long episode. We had a lot to talk about, so we will likely release this as a full episode, but then split it up into mini episodes as well. Just because, in case there's specific things you want to hear. So, really appreciate you guys listening, and we will see you next week.